Good afternoon, guys. It's Sunday, January 21st, and I'm coming at you again with a AEW Collision review. Last night they were in St. Louis, where it was freezing. I heard there was a lot of snow, and it was a very treacherous drive, so kudos to all those fans that showed up for the AEW Collision and Rampage taping. I thought it was another solid show, if not a great show. I thought that it was very well paced. They added some star power this week with Adam Copeland, Jon Moxley, Thunder Rosa, Bryan Danielson, all in matches. I thought that they really did a great job in building up this week's Dynamite. I know in previous weeks, maybe we got one or two matches, and then everything kind of trickled out as we got closer to the show. But not this week. Not this week. They laid out almost the entire card for Dynamite this week. Probably, in my opinion, to capitalize on the momentum from this past week, where they were ranked number one on all of cable. So they announced almost a full card. Social media is saying that, I'm talking about AEW TV on X. They're teasing that maybe there might be more added to the card, which, I mean, awesome. I don't mind. They'll probably also add an overrun, as TBS is really, proving that they're all in with AEW lately, by giving them an overrun of 5 minutes almost every week. The other thing they built up was week's AEW Collision and a huge main event next week with the Steel Cage Trios elimination match between FTR, Daniel Garcia, and the House of Black. And they've been building this for the last several weeks. And I've heard that, there's one thing that, AEW hasn't done in a while, and they've never done it on Collision: Steel Cage. So we're going to get a Steel Cage on free TV next Saturday night. I know it's going head-to-head with the Royal Rumble, but, hey, what are you going to do? You have to go head-to-head. They have a contract to do Collision every Saturday night. They have to do it. And, why not give the fans the best show you can possibly do anyway? I know a lot of people say, well, they're not going to do that great in the ratings. But so what? At least you tried. At least you gave your best. Because there's going to be fans that pay to go to that show. And they deserve your best. And the fans that watch every week, there's going to be fans that watch this Saturday night. They deserve the best too. So I say just go all out, give your best. So I doubt that this big steel cage match is the only thing, the only big match that's announced or segment. I've heard rumors. I've seen fans talk about it. Hey, if you have Mercedes Moné signed, why not debut her, or at least tease it, at this week's AEW Collision, which is going head-to-head with the Royal Rumble? Because you know that, WWE fans are going to be talking about it all week, fantasy booking Mercedes or Sasha in the Royal Rumble, despite all signs pointing to her being elite. So I doubt they'll do anything. I think they'll wait till we get closer to Revolution. But it will be cool. And so let's get to AEW Collision. And there was a great crowd tonight. I think there was about, from WrestleTix, said it was about 3,100 people there. But it sounded like triple that. As always with AEW crowds. They get into it. They're rowdy. They're loud. And AEW gave him a lot to be rowdy about tonight because they kicked off the show with Jon Moxley versus Shane Taylor. And Mox, coming fresh off of his short excursion to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he still has a big match with Naito for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship coming up. And he looks in great shape. He looks motivated. And there was he cut a promo following the match, but he didn't specify what his next feud is going to be or what his next angle is going to be, just that he's pissed off. So, all in all, I thought it was a really good match. Good showing from Shane Taylor. He's been on a little start and stop since he's come to AEW and Ring of Honor. I thought this was his best showing on a high-profile match, especially with somebody like Jon Moxley. Immediately after that, we had a commercial break, and then we go straight to Adam Copeland and the Cope Open. I thought it was, that's very smart. Get the stars out there early, because that's where the viewers are going to be tuning in. And so you had Adam Copeland. And this week, his Cope Open challenger was Dante Martin. And once again, ever since Adam has come to AEW, he has not phoned it in, not once. He's worked his ass off. And, it just shows that, it's not that he couldn't do it in WWE. They just wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him go out and work matches the way he wants to. Every week. That's what he wants to do. So I thought it was a good clash of styles. You had the faster, younger, more agile, but smaller Dante versus the bigger veteran in Adam Copeland. Good match. Adam showing some heel tendencies here and there, just like Bryan Danielson does in his matches. And I thought it was a good showing for Dante against a legend. So good stuff. Post match, again, Adam cut a promo just like Mox did, but he alluded to veterans not taking up his challenge, and we got some follow up later in the show, some big follow up, and so following this. We had some backstage promos. We had the Gun Club and Jay White, a.k.a. the Bullet Club Gold, cutting a promo in the ring. And we had the Acclaimed coming out to continue their storyline where they want to team up and join forces to create a brand new supergroup that will inevitably turn on each other and feud. But, that's pro wrestling. And for now, it's gonna be pretty fun to see these six guys interact on TV. I imagine that they brought out the cutout of Juice Robinson to kind of foreshadow that eventually Juice, when he does come back, he's gonna put he's going to be a problem for this union. I think the eventual end game for this angle is to unify the Ring of Honor Trios titles and the AEW Trios tag titles. So we'll just have one set of Trios belts in all of AEW and Ring of Honor. So, and to the fans who I've been seeing the comments from the fans online, whining and crying about Jay White being relegated, quotation marks, to Ring of Honor. Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold won those Ring of Honor Trios titles on AEW Dynamite. And their next segment after that was on AEW Collision. So, I don't know what these people are smoking. I don't know what, if they even watch the show. They probably don't watch the show. But no, I don't believe that Tony Khan is going to relegate Jay White and the Bullet Club Gold, who are one of the best acts in AEW, they have been since June of last year, to the Ring of Honor tapings. I think they're more valuable on the AEW shows proper. Which is not to say that they won't they won't do a one-off title defense for those tapings. They could do that, but it doesn't mean that they're just relegated to those shows. Okay. So moving on. Next up, we had the women's match. We had the return of Thunder Rosa after almost 2 years. It was August of 2022. That's when she had to take time off for her back injury that turned out to be worse, and it put her out for almost 2 years, a year and a half. Her opponent here was Queen Aminata, who has been getting a pretty significant mini push. She hasn't won any matches except on Ring of Honor, but she's been getting some high-profile matches lately with and her opponent here was Queen Aminata, who's been getting quite the significant mini push despite not winning any of these high-profile matches on Dynamite and Rampage and Collision. But they see something in her. I've heard that she's signed to a tiered contract, but we'll see. I think that she deserves a full-time contract because she's that good. She's that good. You put her in the ring with Diana, you put her in the ring with Thunder Rosa like tonight, and she shows how good she is. She's very polished in the ring. So I thought that she was a perfect opponent to give Thunder Rosa to, because let's face it, Thunder Rosa is going to be rusty. Okay, her first couple of matches back were a tag match on Collision and the 8 women tag on Dynamite Homecoming. So this is her first match where she basically was in there on her own versus one opponent. And I thought it was very good. I was watching very closely to see, if she botched any moves or there was some mistiming. But I thought that it was a very solid match. Kudos to Queen Aminata because she really, she put in the work to make Thunder Rosa look good. They both look good. And it was, a solid match. No post-match promo from Thunder Rosa to, give any hints at what her next opponent will be, her next feud will be, her first feud back. I imagine that they're going to revisit Thunder Rosa versus Julia Hart and Sky Blue down the line. I think that she will get a TBS title shot, maybe at Revolution. We'll see. There's still about 5 weeks before that show. So they have a lot of time to build it up to that match. Next up, we had Buddy Matthews versus Daniel Garcia in what I think was the best match of the night overall. These guys worked hard. Buddy really, really sold that tweaked knee so well that I was even convinced that maybe he had hurt himself. Maybe they were going to stop the match. But as it went along, it became clear to me that he was selling really well. And Daniel Garcia was going to go for that knee. And that's how he was going to gain the advantage in the match by going for that tweaked ankle or knee. And these guys had really good chemistry here. Very fast-paced match, and I was kind of surprised that Daniel Garcia got the pin, but I don't think House of Black, they don't really need to win matches to stay over. That's the thing. There's a lot of fans that think that you have to win all the time, but you don't. Like I look at somebody like the NWO. They lost a lot, but they stayed over. It didn't matter. The fans still bought into them. And I think that's the same thing with House of Black. They don't necessarily need to win, because right after the match, in the post-match beatdown, the fans were going crazy again, and they want to see what they do next, which will be that steel cage match next week on Collision. The next match on the card was Roddy Strong versus Matt Sydal, and for, just you could say it's just a filler match, but I thought that Sydal and Roddy had a good match either way. Obviously they have great chemistry going back to their Ring of Honor days years ago when they were a tag team. And once again, they are building up Roddy as a credible challenger to Orange Cassidy at Revolution for that international title. I think that it's time for Roddy to win the belt. I think that Orange Cassidy, as great of a champion as he's been, and as over it with the fans as he's been, I think it's time for him to drop that belt. Because just like the NWO and House of Black, he doesn't need it. Orange Cassidy does. He's one of those guys that he doesn't need the belt to remain over and to remain a fan favorite with the crowd. So they're going to build up Roddy over the next 5 weeks. And eventually, I think Roddy wins that belt at Revolution. And next up, we had the main event, Bryan Danielson and Claudio versus Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. And I thought this was a good match. I thought it was very cool seeing the crowd split down the middle between Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. They were chanting Eddie, then they were chanting King of the Bums. I thought that it was very, the final image of Bryan Danielson torturing Eddie as Claudio held him down, and Danielson submitted Ortiz, his good friend that had tried to help him in this match. I thought that they're building towards eventually at Revolution, most likely, Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston for that Triple Crown. I don't know who goes over there because you're going to have people that say, well, Eddie, he was shorted, and his reign as Triple Crown should have been longer. And then you're going to have people that say, well, Bryan Danielson shouldn't be losing so much in his final year as a full-time competitor. So I'm not sure that one could go either way. It just depends on how they book the match. I think Bryan and Eddie, they have great chemistry, so it will be great. And we will have a great finish in that one, no matter who wins. So, all in all, guys, I really enjoyed this week's AEW Collision. And as far as Dynamite goes, man, they really went all out to build this episode up, because I'm telling you, they want to strike while the iron's hot. They want to keep that momentum going. They didn't want to book a so-so ho-hum Dynamite this week after they were number one on cable the previous week. So we got crazy matches. We've got Swerve Strickland versus Jeff Hardy. We've got Hangman Page versus Penta. We've got Adam Copeland versus the murder grandpa Minoru Suzuki. So we've got Sting and Darby Allin live in the house. We've got a sit down between Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm. And we've got, for the trios titles, we've got the Acclaimed versus Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. So this is going to be a really, really stacked show coming up. And then, of course, next Saturday, we've got the Steel Cage trios match. And and don't forget, they're going to add a lot more stuff to both shows this week. Plus, we don't know what they're going to put on Rampage. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting week. And no doubt we'll also get some more news on Mercedes Moné this week. and some more news on Kazuchika Okada and his decision that he's in the midst of making. We also had word this week that Will Ospreay is set to come into AEW full-time as soon as probably February, the first week of February, most likely. Maybe the second week, but he's coming in and he's going to have a match at Revolution. So it's going to be a great week. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.